we need to, again, stand up and fight to protect our right to vote and demand security, transparency, and auditing of all elections. So thanks for listening, and it is my pleasure to introduce someone who is not sitting back and has really been fighting for election protection for the long haul. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon has been a beacon of hope and outspoken tenacity in the U.S. Senate, introducing legislation such as the Protecting American Votes and Elections, or the PAVE Act, which incorporates really the most effective and innovative ways to protect our elections and ensure accessibility for all voters. So thank you, Senator Wyden, for joining us tonight.
Alyssa, thank you. And that was unquestionably an inflationary introduction. And I so appreciate your leading the activist call on so many important issues. And I think as I reflect on the wonderful people you just mentioned who made this program possible, I went to school on a basketball scholarship. I was dreaming of playing in the NBA. It was a ridiculous idea because at 6'4", I was too small, and I made up for it by being really slow. But I can tell you tonight, we really have the NBA all-stars of election security. And my mother probably would say, Ron, dear, tonight you're running with the right crowd. And I think that really sums up my feelings about all of you. Let me start by saying that the timing for your program could not be more ideal tonight. Probably about 12 hours ago, the Senate Intelligence Committee finished our hearing on the new nominee to head the National Intelligence Office, John Ratcliffe. And I had read his written answers to our questions. And he basically thought that online voting was pretty much okay. And I think all of you know that internet voting, where there's an open connection to the internet, is pretty much like stacking our ballots in the Kremlin. So I asked him his opinion on online voting, given what he had said. And the person who is likely to head the Office of National Intelligence pretty much said, not my lane. That's policy. And what I really wanted to say, but I said it more diplomatically, was, are you kidding me? These are national security issues. I don't understand how anybody who looked at what happened in 2016 wouldn't see that elections are national security issues. So one special reason I wanted to join tonight is to make sure that all of us make it clear that online voting just is not safe, and it's not acceptable to have a new director of national intelligence who doesn't understand that basic proposition. Now, what is exciting about this program is that those who are featured in Kill Chain have been sounding the alarm for years and years. And for a little bit of my infamous past, I guess I could describe it, one of the first things I did a number of years ago is I sent letters to all of the big voting machine companies, basically the waterfront of the voting machine lobby. And I asked them some really tough questions, just brimming with difficulty, like, do you have a chief information security officer. Boy, that is really, really tough to address. I asked, has your company ever experienced a data breach or a hack? These companies across the board refused to answer. They basically consider themselves to this very evening above the law, and that's why kill chain and what we're talking about in terms of upcoming legislation is so important, because this is going to help us get real accountability over the very powerful voting machine lobby that really does think it is above the law. Now, a few months after I sent that letter, the New York Times reported that the biggest voting machine manufacturer, ES&S, had installed remote access software on some of their election equipment. Now, when I learned that, I said, this is about the worst move for election security I could imagine. I guess you could gift ballot boxes to Moscow, but other than that, this was about as serious a mistake as you could get. What did the company do? They denied the New York Times story. Then we kept following it up, and they finally admitted to me that they did install remote access software on election management systems for at least 7 years. But they said, no big deal, not to worry, it's just a few systems. Then a few months later, they admitted it was 300 customers. So the largest voting machine company in the country had changed its story on these basic issues 3 times in 1 year. Now, that's not the end of it. They've used every slimy trick in the book to get states to buy what Alyssa was warning about: overpriced, insecure voting machines. The company was investigated by prosecutors in 2009 for using bribes to get a $50 million contract with New York City. The company's got a well-documented track record of flying state election officials to nice places, lots of whining and dining. Americans' constitutional rights, as this group knows, shouldn't depend on a handful of well-connected corporations like ES&S, who have stonewalled the Congress, lied to the Congress and the press, and shown questionable judgment when it comes to security. Last summer, I had a chance to see just how vulnerable election systems are, where I attended DefCon, the White Hat Hacker Convention in Las Vegas. I went there because I wanted to see how easy it was to hack e-poll books, voting machines, and other parts of election infrastructure. And there, the security researchers and the cyber experts showed how easy it was to compromise the machines, alter the votes, disrupt ballot printers, meddle with the registration systems. Teenagers were in the DefCon voting village, and they showed me an e-poll book hacked so completely that young people were playing video games on it. They're playing Doom on it. I can tell you, 1% of the United States Senate was represented that day at DefCon, and I know DefCon folks are with us tonight, but I sure wish my colleagues, my other colleagues in the Senate, could have been there. The threats to democracy grow day by day, and the fact is Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump just repeatedly stonewall, block, and in every way possible try to derail bills to protect the franchise, expand the franchise, and COVID-proof the 2020 elections so that our people are safe. Now, my bill, Alyssa talked about it, paper ballots, hand-marked, routine post-election risk-limiting audits, and federal cybersecurity standards for election systems. And I actually went to the Senate floor and I asked unanimous consent to be able to debate whether there should be a cybersecurity standard stipulating that you couldn't have a voting machine with an open connection to the internet. And Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, went to the floor and objected. And in objecting, she said, I don't even want to debate it. I don't even want to debate an issue like that that goes right to the heart of what computer security specialists say is so important. Now, the House did pass a major election security bill. It was called the SAFE Act. Speaker Pelosi, to her credit, worked very closely with Congresswoman Lofgren and myself to include significant portions of our bill. Mitch McConnell keeps putting those bills on ice. And basically, his goal, in my view, is to just postpone, so he can run out the clock and try to keep election security reform from passing for this election. So that's why this program and the discussion you're going to have is so important. Political change is not top down, certainly not with election security. It doesn't start in Washington and then trickle down. It is really grassroots up. And I will tell you, tonight, I feel we've got a better shot than we've ever had. And I'll close with this. I'm the nation's first mail-in United States Senator. I'm a Democrat. Second one was a Republican. Vote by mail has been tested. It's exactly what we need right now to prevent more spectacles in November, like we saw in Wisconsin, where the health commissioner has already indicated a number of people got infected during that period when the elections were taking place. I believe we can win this. We've seen a number of local Republican officials like Mike DeWine of Ohio, Governor Hogan of Maryland. We've seen a number of them say the safety of our voters is more important than Mitch McConnell's turf. So what you're doing today, tonight, and in the days ahead as people see this wonderful production is really giving us a chance to go to the grassroots and say, let's keep our people safe. Let's COVID-proof the elections. Let's not make it easy for hostile foreign powers to interfere with our elections. So, as I said when I started, I'm thrilled to be part of this effort. I think we can win this. When I put that vote by mail bill in 2002, it was an academic exercise. Professors on college campuses wore tweed jackets and they debated whether we ought to vote by mail. It is no longer an academic issue. It's a front and center public safety issue. It is a national security issue. Thank you for all you're doing. And I want you to know I'm going to be working with you every step of the way. Thanks for having me, everybody.
Thank you, Senator, so much for your eloquent remarks. You are a champion for democracy, as is Alyssa Milano, and we're so thrilled to have both of you open up this critical discussion. We know you both are very busy, and you may not be able to stay for the rest of the hour, but we appreciate you taking the time and starting this critical question. Thank